Guys, I just got to tell you that I don't know how many of you here are into sports or into basketball. Some of you guys may know what I'm about to talk about, but for those of you guys who don't know, most of you who are not into sports or basketball, or even if you are, you may not be into, what goes on in the sports media world. There's a gentleman by the name of Kwame Brown. And he, before there was ever a LeBron James, Kwame Brown was the first ever high school basketball player in the history of mankind to be drafted number one in the NBA draft. Before him, there were a few guys drafted out of high school. Kevin Garnett comes to mind, a few other guys, but they were never drafted number one. He was drafted number one, the first pick in the draft, out of high school. He was actually drafted by Michael Jordan, when Michael Jordan was, I guess, the co-owner and general manager of the Washington Wizards. And if you guys remember, when Jordan came back, he went to play for the Wizards, just because, whatever. Hungry. And so, this Kwame Brown, 18-year-old kid, all of a sudden, he's like from South Carolina, kind of the backwoods of South Carolina. And he just 18-year-old kid just gets millions of dollars. And, in the first couple of years, he plays mediocre because he's a kid. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's learning the game, how to play in the professional basketball. After a while, he just doesn't really, if you look at the chart of his statistics, it doesn't really go up and up and up and up. It just kind of stays the same. And he basically lived out his career in the NBA as a mediocre player at best. I mean, he had, you could watch his highlights. You can go on YouTube and watch his highlights, and you can see that he had like sparks, kind of moments of greatness or flashes of greatness, as every player would. But overall, he turned out to be a mediocre player. So in I guess sports media vernacular, you would call him a bust. You would use the word bust for him. And, okay, so it's one thing to understand that the guy's a bust and just call him a bust and forget about him. However, the guy somehow managed to stay, in the NBA for, I think, 12 years or 13 years. And somehow, some way, because he brought something to the table. The guy is 6'11", he could rebound, he could block shots, he could occasionally score, whatever it is. And, so he managed to stay in the NBA for 13 years. He made $65 million, and across his career. He had endorsements as well. And then throughout that entire time, you had people on ESPN calling this guy a bust and making fun of him. He became the butt of every joke. And so, this guy, what did he do? He just stayed silent, relatively silent, for 20 years. He didn't respond to anybody. He didn't, it was almost as if the guy didn't even exist, and you almost felt like the guy became like some kind of a fictional character that people just kind of referred to, like a legend, the legend of Kwame Brown, not legend as in like he's great, but it's like a person who never even physically existed on this planet, right? And you have people like Stephen A. Smith. That's one of the primary people. or the prominent people who was making fun of him for years and years and years and years. And so he stayed quiet. And he likes to say that he was just watching. He was watching people. And then, all of a sudden, the guy is now 39 years old, a little bit younger than me. All of a sudden, the guy decides that he's going to get on YouTube and he is just going to go full throttle at these people. And at this point, it's not even about him. It's not even a revenge game, about him. It's more so about how the sports media, and the media at large, treats black men, young black men, who come from the inner city, from poor neighborhoods, from neighborhoods with murder, with crime, and they get into sports. They get into professional sports, NBA, NFL, and the minute that they do something wrong, I'm not even talking about off the court or off the field. I'm talking about the minute that they don't perform to the level that they were expected to perform, they get just ran through the mud. So now you could say, well, come on, don't be such a snowflake. That's the nature of the game. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, kind of stuff, whatever. But listen, it's one thing if you're a great player and you're still playing and you're scoring 20 points, 25 points a game, 30 points a game, and you start screwing up and people are calling you out on it. That's one thing. But it's quite another when it's like a guy who was 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, 21 years old, okay, and he ended up being a bust. But why just continue to kick somebody when they're down? Why turn somebody into the butt of a joke? These people got it into their heads that this guy is docile, that this guy is basically, he's not going to respond. He's a stupid little kid. He's quiet, he's shy, he's scared, he's this. And now 20 years later, this guy's on YouTube. He started talking. He just went up from 20,000 subscribers. I think he now has, let me check. He now has, excuse me. Let's see. I think he just went live this morning. I think he's still going live. No, I think he's okay. He finished this video. He has 252,000 subscribers. So this guy, what is he doing? He started talking at the people on ESPN, all of these, even former basketball players, who are propagating, thug mentality, thug culture for the black community. Who are bashing young black men to high heaven, who are dragging him through the mud. And this guy, and I'm looking at listening to some of the things he's saying, and I'm watching him, and I'm thinking this guy probably is a conservative, politically speaking. He's talking about his guns. He's like, I own land here in Georgia, in Atlanta. He's got guns that he, just obviously for self-defense. He goes shooting, hunting, whatever it is. He builds stuff. He's into construction. He's got his truck, whatever it is. But the guy, when you hear him speak, he sounds like somebody out of the inner city. He sounds like, it would be very difficult to call this guy what they call Uncle Tom, right? It would be very difficult to put him in that box. You can say, you guys heard Candace Owens, Larry Elder, what's his name? Thomas Sowell. There's a few other people, they speak, and then all you hear is people calling them Uncle Tom. People in the black community call them Uncle Tom. Why? Because they're conservative, they vote Republican, they talk about conservative values. Then this guy comes on, right? And he starts talking about conservative values and how to be a man, that it's okay to be a man, it's okay to be masculine. You go on the comment section, it's mostly African Americans. And they're like, this is great, this guy's great, this is amazing, it's fantastic. I would say 95, maybe 98% of the people, positive response. And this guy is just exposing everything. He's exposing how young black men are treated in the media, how athletes, how basically, he's saying that like all you guys want is for black kids to aspire to be athletes and rappers. That's all you want. He goes, if a bunch of you guys who play on the same basketball team got together, I'm just gonna add my own thing in here. If a bunch of guys on the Nets who have a combined salary of God knows what got together and said, we want to fix this city or this murder capital of the world or of America, they could do it in a second. And I'm going to post the link, by the way. My friend Paul said, his name is Kwame Brown. I'll post a link to his YouTube. Shout out to Kwame Brown. So he says, if a bunch of those guys got together and they pool their money, they would fix a lot of the issues, a lot of these communities in the African American community. He goes, instead, what are you guys doing? You're propagating thug, behavior, music, whatever, and the cycle continues. And meanwhile, you're complaining about, when you're doing the whole Black Lives Matter and this and Black Power and da-da-da. And he goes, meanwhile, you guys are doing this, down with the brand, but you're not solving anything. He was talking yesterday to this doctor, whatever, I forgot his name. What's his name? There was some doctor, some psychologist that responded to him. Thank you, Paul, for posting Kwame's. I'll post it in the description to this video. There's a doctor that he spoke about by the name of, he doesn't say. He says it in the video, I just don't want to play the video for you guys. But it's some African-American psychologist, famous person, and he's like, you talk and you talk and you talk. What have you solved? Dr. Boyce, here we go. Dr. Boyce. And he's like, you talk and you talk and you talk, but what have you solved? You're talking about black power and black economics and black this and black that. Boyce Watkins, this guy. American author, political analyst, whatever it is. He's like, have you solved anything? All you're doing is keeping this problem alive. It's kind of like, guys, you know what this reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of some of these Jewish organizations who started up to deal with a particular problem, right? And then someone like me and other people come to them and we say, well, here, we have something that may be a solution for you. But the thing is, if they actually solve the problem, what happens? These people's raison d'être, as we say in French, ceases to exist. Their cushy leather chairs in their offices will close down if somebody solves the problem of, I don't know, in the Jewish case, Hasbara, Israel PR, Kiruv, Jews learning Torah, whatever it is, Jews being more, involved, not going in the wrong path against Israel, whatever it is, right? In the case of African Americans, if you solve their economic problems or their social problems, you don't need organizations like BLM. You don't need Mr. This is an outrage. You don't need Al Sharpton anymore. You don't need Jesse Jackson. You don't need those people because you basically have solved the problem. More or less. I don't want to say it's completely solved the problem. You'll have some issues, but you've basically addressed it. You've basically started to fix it. And you don't need, you don't have crime anymore. Oh, so if you don't have crime anymore, you don't have cops wearing army fatigues in your neighborhood and shooting everybody on sight. That's why that's happening, by the way, not because cops are racist. And so now you don't have the cop problem. Now you don't need to defund the police. You just need to have less police because you don't have any more crime. Why? Because you've solved the problem. We will always need some to dissent. I don't know what you mean by that. Can you please explain? Thank you. Yeah, so he's just saying, you guys are fake hucksters. He's talking to his own community. And this and that and the other. And it's amazing. And I'm watching this, and this dude is like the Pied Piper. He's like the Pied Piper of black people. It's amazing to watch. And it's funny because we're coming up on, I guess, the 1-year anniversary of the George Floyd fiasco. And, and it's funny because I remember at that time I was here and I made videos about what's going on with the African American community, and I got a little bit of flack for it from some people. Actually, in my community, they said, listen, it's not your place to say, even though you're right, whatever it is. Are you referring to this gentleman? I don't know who you're talking about. Yes, descent, but who is he descending? Who is descending and who is it descending against? He's not descending, he's talking truth to power to his own community, trying to fix it. Oh, guys, I'm gonna have to switch over to the. Just give me 1 second. We got emerging markets over here. Just 1 second. Oh yeah, here we go. Jazz. Now we're getting to the Miles Davis feel. All right. Okay. So yeah, so this guy's speaking truth to power now. And it's amazing because I don't know how much money he has. I don't know if anybody's funding him at the moment. The guy just took his phone, like I'm doing now, got on YouTube. You know, I have 2,000 subscribers. He had 20,000, and now he's got 200,000. You know, so he's a 200x crypto of me. I'm like, what am I? I'm like the the penny stock of cryptocurrencies, and this guy's like Bitcoin now, or he's like he's Dogecoin. He's like the human Dogecoin, right? For his community. Let's see, somebody's trying to join. I think my friend Paul's trying to join. Oh yeah, here we go. So Paul, he's gone. And like that, he's gone. What happened to Paul? Let's see if Paul will join again. Alright. Yeah, so this guy's talking, and it's amazing, and it's a year, and we're a year in from the George Floyd fiasco, and now you have a guy who basically you cannot even come at him and call him Uncle Tom because he's one of you, he's one of them. Speaking, and he's basically, he was even saying to those guys on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, Stephen Jackson, he calls them, there's a guy, Matt Barnes, so Matt Barnes is, I guess, I don't know if he's half black, half white, or light skin. He calls him Becky with the good hair. He's like, you Becky with the good hair? He made up nicknames. It's very entertaining. I honestly, the entertainment factor alone is just enough to watch this. It's very funny. But other than that, he's speaking truth to power, and and it's amazing. And people are listening. People in the black community are listening. Recently, somebody said that he's gay. Somebody clipped his and called him gay. Some black guy, some African American guy who has a reaction videos called him gay. And then Kwame's like, I don't understand. What's wrong with being gay? I mean, I'm not gay. He goes, I have kids. I'm into women. He goes, I have a first cousin that's gay. Maybe I should get the LGBTQ and whatever they are community to come after you. This guy who said that he's gay. He's like, what's the problem? So now this guy, this conservative guy, is coming at black people. He's at these black media guys, telling them that they're getting paid by white executives to say what they say and to drag black men through the mud, young black men, and to keep them down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is incredible. He has just uncovered the mask of this whole machinery. And included in that is BLM and people like Sharpton, which I'm mentioning, he didn't mention, and people like Jesse Jackson and people like all these other people who are just keeping this thing going for what? Get money. Get money. Yeah, I'll put my friend on. Let's see if he's there. Our friend, Mr. Carpenter. No answer from live video guest. Mr. Carpenter. I got you, son. No? Alright, we'll just wait for him to show up. So, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I'm watching this guy. And it's interesting. I guess in my own way, I kind of relate to him. In my own way, People are just emerging, with a message. Everybody who has a message, who's had a message, and they've kept it inside for the longest time, they are emerging, and the message is nothing but emes. It's nothing but truth. And that's what people want to hear. That's actually why Trump got elected. Like him or hate him, and I said yesterday to my Jewish friends who were shocked at what's going on in America, and I said, well, all the stuff's happening on campus and all that stuff, and I said to them, well, Trump was trying to stop all that stuff. He was trying to defund Students for Justice in Palestine, and I said, you guys may not like his hair and his skin and the way he talks, but he is speaking the truth, the MS. That's why people voted for him, not because they like him personally. Most people do not like him personally. Most people I know don't like him personally who voted for him. And now you have people just speaking the truth. You know, there was a whole situation with Kwame where, I don't know if you guys know, there's a show called, what's the name of the show? On Power 105. It's a radio station in New York City. This guy, what's his name? Charlemagne the God? I don't know who the hell calls themselves Charlemagne the God. What kind of pompous person you gotta be to give yourself that nickname or that moniker. And he basically called them out. He basically said that you guys are keeping people down, and you're making fun of people, and you talk about nonsense, and you guys are the flag bearers for the African American community. And then this guy came on and apologized. But if you guys watch the apology, these people are so, like, you could literally watch two people and you can tell that one is real and one is completely MS, completely truthful, authentic, and one is completely fake. He's pretending with his fake apology and condescending and patronizing. You could really, I mean, I could tell. I don't know about you guys. It's very easy for me to tell who's fake and who's real, automatically. Most people don't pick up on that. They're like, oh yeah, they live in this matrix. You know, they allow people to pull the wool over their eyes with nice, slick words and slick talking, and you know, people who pretend to care about the issues, right? The site's not letting me join. Listen, I don't know what to tell you. I added you, Mr. Carpenter. Allow viewers to send your request to join. You can add them at any point. Yeah, listen, I added you. I don't know why it's not working. Super weird. Oh yeah, super weird, right? That's another thing, this platform. It's interesting because when I go live on video, this is the only time where I actually have, where my content is actually seen by a good amount of people. If I post posts, like graphics or written word, hardly any people see it. And you guys see, I have 36,000 fans on this page. So, and I've gotten a flag for no reason. They don't even give the reason from Facebook. This page is at, what is it? It says at risk of being whatever. Not gonna say it unless the algorithm catch me. And yeah, listen. They just sent me a thing last week, a post. Oh, listen to this, guys. A post that I made about Hamas, how people, and I said in a post, again, it was a screenshot of Twitter. I think they have a war against Twitter, because this is the second time they've done this, where I post a screenshot of something that I tweeted. And this time it wasn't even, last time it was July 2020 that they flagged something. This time it was a post from August 2019. We're almost 2 years in. I don't know if somebody reported it. I don't know if a robot caught it. I don't know what happened. It was a tweet, a screenshot of a tweet that I made about how people call Trump a Nazi. Meanwhile, Hamas have Nazi talking points in their charter. And that post was taken down by Facebook. And then they gave the reason, because it would incite somebody to violence. And I'm just like, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Guys, I really just don't even know what to say. So, Baruch Hashem, at least I have this live where people actually watch. And thank God, I guess. Here, let's try to add our friend Paul here. Let's see if that works. No answer from live video, guys. You have to respond, man. There's a thing you got to click to respond to my response. Something should pop up on your window, on your screen. Meanwhile, while we wait for our friend Paul to join us. Yes, I'm watching this guy, Kwame Brown, and he's doing what he's doing with humor, and he's making people, he's entertaining people, but at the same time he's bringing the truth and exposing everybody. He's exposing this whole, sports media, I don't know, kingdom, dynasty, whatever you want to call it, and he's bringing it down. This machine, really, it's a machine. That's what it is. And it's interesting because I was talking about this last year. I was saying that when COVID hit and all of these, all the stadiums were empty, all the sports got canceled, and then even when they came back, all the stadiums where these guys are playing in front of empty stadiums, and I said to myself, and I say this as a sports obsessed person. I was into hockey, tennis, basketball, soccer, the history, just details. Really, I'm into it. Played it competitively, and I say this as a sports person that this stuff, this whole thing, this whole Greek, Roman Colosseum stuff is going to eventually, it's a matrix. People live in the matrix, and it's going to collapse. Even what's his name said, Kwame Brown, the person that went to college. You know what he said to these guys? He said, "You guys," he goes, "are we living in a simulation? You guys live in a simulation." He's like, You think I care anymore about the NBA? That was one phase in my life." Because one of those guys, Steven Jackson, called his life trash. He called Kwame Brown's life trash. Why? Because he doesn't have all the fancy cars and all the fancy girls that these guys bought and paid for, the girls as well. Because Kwame Brown doesn't live his life like that. He lives his life in an authentic way, like a normal person. Just happens to have he has more money. He doesn't go around flaunting it. So therefore, Kwame Brown's life is trash. I mean, ladies and gentlemen. And he comes and he says, you guys are just whack. You guys are whack. How you're living, how you're flaunting. He says, like, you guys are like effeminate men because you think it's cool to showboat and flaunt your wealth and all of your, just flaunt yourselves and be like all flashy and this and that and the other. And he's like, that's not how real men. He goes, we've lost a generation where we don't have like elders anymore. We don't have black men that we look up to, that we listen to. We don't listen to our elders anymore. He's talking about the black community. He's like, we don't have real men. I'm adding my own thing. A lot of athletes said it used to be that when a football player got a touchdown, I'm talking about the 70s, 80s, he would go into the end zone and he would put the ball down on the ground, or he would take the ball and give it to the referee. Right? What is he doing now? He's dancing around. He's like pretending. The guy's pretending he's a stripper. I don't know. He's making all kinds of like movements, like effeminate, like he's a woman. No offense to any women, but these are men who are basically behaving like women. That's what he says, and he's like, you guys are not real men. He's like, you're not real men. You're flaunting around. You're buying everything, including the women that you're with. You're buying them too. Meaning, they're a bunch of gold diggers. I'm telling you guys, he's just calling it out, and he's saying these guys live in an illusion. They live in a simulation, in a matrix, and the thing's about to collapse because the jig is up. Everybody sees that it's all BS. And it's interesting because I was saying, you guys can go back to my channel last year. I was saying the same things about both this stuff that's going on in the African American community, which a lot of people told me it's not my place to say because I'm not part of the community. It's not my place to say it. I guess, maybe, I don't know. But it was an issue, right? It was an issue that people were talking about, so I felt the need. And also the stuff with the sports. And it's incredible. It's a year later, and this Kwame Brown guy, who everybody, I forgot about him. The only reason I guess people didn't forget about him is because these guys kept bashing him to high heaven. And he even said, he's like, you think I care about the NBA anymore? It was just one phase of my life. I made my money, and now I live my life, and I do other things. I have land. He's like, you guys are, what did he say? He's like, you guys are, he's so funny. He's like, you guys probably live in high-rise apartments with the management companies, and you're beholden to the management companies. You apartment guys. I'm not going to say the words that he used. He's like, or if you have $1 million mansion, you have your gardeners and this. He's like, I have land. I bought land, and I have a whole patch of land, and I drive my, he's got his lawnmower, his like motorized lawnmower, and I work on my land, and he's like, the best thing you can do is to own land right now, not a house, but actual land. That's the best financial advice I can give you. Amazing. And he's just like, I don't care about the NBA. Okay, no, he's like, and then he's like, so what? I'm a bust. Yeah, I'm a bust. I was drafted number 1. There's many reasons why I'm a bust, but I'm a bust. I admit it, but I don't care. He's like, I made my money. He's like, you should be a bust like me. A guy who stayed in the NBA for 12 years, made, tens of millions of dollars, and lives a good life with his kids, and, does his thing. My friends, it's amazing. And this one man is sitting, like I'm sitting right now, in his house, on his phone, on YouTube, not scripted, not produced. He's just going off the cuff, and he is just basically taking down an entire system, an entire machine, at least part of it, which is the sports media, empire that's called ESPN. Not just ESPN, you have TNT, other places. And he's doing it with humor, and he's doing it in an authentic way, and he has his values. The irony is that what people don't realize, and I think a lot of African Americans realize now, that most of their values are actually conservative. Believing in God, going to church. They're conservative values. If you ever hear black comedians, I heard this guy, what's his name, Mike Epps, and he's talking about, he has a whole skit about taxes. He's like, you ever get your check, and you're all excited, it's Friday, you get your check, and then you look, and he's like, what happened to the check? I'm just paraphrasing. He's like, taxes? What? And I'm watching this, and I'm like, well, you vote for the people, for the party, African-American people vote for the party that raises the taxes. Wink, wink. And now you have a comedian who doesn't like Republicans, and he's complaining about taxes on his paycheck. I don't know what to tell you. And you realize, and so this guy's talking to his community, Kwame Brown, and you realize that their values are actually conservative. But now you have a person who sounds like Kwame Brown. If you guys go on his YouTube, you'll understand what I'm saying. Who talks like Kwame Brown from South Carolina, not sounds like Candace Owens or Larry Elder or Thomas Sowell, as great as they are, but it's very easy to make those people into Uncle Tom and into Coon or whatever derogatory thing you want to say. But Kwame Brown is a real you-know-what. I mean that in the best way possible. Please do not take my words and run with them. You know what I mean, okay? And you cannot say anything to him. And it's great. I happen to think, honestly, these revolutions, these changes, if anything was going to happen, it was going to happen from grassroots. It wasn't going to happen with Al Not So Sharpton, Mr. Outrage. It wasn't going to happen with Justin Jackson, Rainbow Coalition. It wasn't going to happen with BLM, who live in $1 million mansions next to white people. It wasn't going to happen with basketball players. It wasn't going to happen with Charlemagne the God. And it wasn't going to happen with rappers. It's going to happen with people who are salt of the earth, who belong to the people, but at the same time, who managed to make something of themselves. Life humbled them. Baruch Hashem. Thank God. And now, these are the type of people that are going to lead their communities out of the gutter and into greatness. Honestly, I will just dare to say that Kwame Brown probably would be the Moshe Rabbeinu figure of his community in the United States of America. I'm going to so far as to say that. No, okay. It's an expression. We can use expressions from the New, just like we paraphrase Jordan Peterson all the time, and he quotes the New Testament, Mr. Nachli El Sullivan. But we just had a whole discussion about Jordan Peterson and the suffering versus tikkunim. That's a whole different discussion. But by the way, Kwame Brown had his own tikkunim, and he's making tikkunim. He had a suffering and tikkunim, and fixing. Now he's fixing. Amazing, guys, really amazing. And I think it's instructive for the Jewish community also that we should have, or we have to have something from the grassroots that comes up and transcends and goes and circumvents what we have in the Jewish world with all these organizations that claim to be helping and all these, we have so many organizations. We have so many Zionist organizations. We're swimming in them. We're drowning in them. Have they solved anything? I don't know. We have our birthright trips, Brooklyn, thank God. We have our rallies, flag-waving rallies, my friends. But Have we solved anything when it comes to our community and unity, Jewish unity and Israel, and getting Jews to, back to the Torah and care about spirituality and their heritage? Not really. With all of our organizations that we have, Zion is this, AZM, ZOA, Tikva, Shmikva. I could just literally go down a list. ADL, JDL, ShmADL, like Reform, Women for the Wall, Women of the Wall, Women on the Wall, Women behind the wall, Women behind Mehitza, Men behind the, like we have so many organizations. What is it? Conference, North American or American Conference of Major Jewish Organizations, World Zionist Congress, World Zionist Organization, WZO, WZC. It sounds like boxing. The World Boxing Federation, the WBO, when are we going to have the undisputed champion of the Zionist organizations? Like Mike Tyson. Who's the champion of WZO? Who's the champion of ZOA? Who's the champion of AZM? My friends, this is ridiculous. These are organizations that sit and they, for the most part, 95% of what they are here to do is sit and collect checks. And you may say, well, those checks go to Israel, JNF, Kakal, Karen Kamed L'Israel. Some of those checks go to Israel and the Jewish people. Most of those checks go to salaries and nice offices and leather chairs like the one behind me. My friends. As Kwame Brown would say, ain't no thing but a chicken wing on a string. Well, what does he say? Mama's cooking. His mother raised him right. She passed away. I don't know when she passed away. And he has a phrase. He says, I was raised on mama's cooking. Mama's cooking just means like, I was raised on common sense and being down to earth. And he just says, mama's cooking. He goes like this, mama's cooking. The seasoning. Guys, I mean, it's going to have to take, in the Jewish community, it's going to have to take mama's cooking to solve all the issues that we have. It's not going to be any of these, World Boxing Federations, World Zionist Boxing Federations to solve our problems. Just like Kwame Brown is doing, we're going to have to do this with our phones and with our $0 and just talk. This is what my rabbi said, Rav Dror. He said, Tzvi, you have what to say. And I'm not saying this by myself, I'm telling you guys as well. If you have what to say, get on your phone and just talk. Because you may have what to say that people are thinking but are afraid to say, or people didn't even think of. But then if you say it, they're like, oh yeah, oh that makes sense, yeah, I didn't realize that, And next thing you know, we're actually changing things. We're actually bringing down these useless entities that are actually counterproductive to our communities, whether it's Jewish or black or whoever, and we're actually beginning to solve the problems. Yeah. That's basically it, guys. Alright, shout out to Kwame Brown. People are going to think this is a reaction video to him. Partially it is, but partially there's a bigger message here. There was a bigger message that we can change stuff. Today, with social media, we can change it. We can do it. Or as Home Depot says, you can do it, we can help. Alright guys, talk to you soon.